Hello everyone, welcome to this week's lecture. Today's topic is going to be the Maya, a general introduction. So let's begin. In this lecture, we will talk about who were the Maya, Mayan cities, Mayan calendar, Mayan religion, Mayan art, Mayan writing, what the Maya used to eat, modern Mayas. Who were the Maya? The Maya, or Mayan people, made their home in an area known as Mesoamerica, modern-day Mexico and Central America. Mayan culture was well established by 1000 BCE and it lasted until 1697 CE. All Maya shared a common culture and religion, but each city governed itself and had its own noble ruler. These cities never came together to form a single empire. Mayan kings were constantly at war with each other, fighting for tribute and prisoners to sacrifice to the gods. The history of Maya civilization is divided into three principal periods: the pre-classic, classic, and post-classic periods. Modern scholars regard these periods as arbitrary divisions of Maya chronology, rather than indicative of cultural evolution or decline. Definitions of the start and end dates of period spans can vary as much as a century depending on the author. So, how did they used to live? Let's talk about Mayan cities. The Maya erected hundreds of ceremonial cities in the rainforests of Mesoamerica. These cities were designed in similar pattern. There was a palace for the ruler, a plaza for the marketplace, and several giant stone-step pyramids. The cities shared the same culture, but remained separated from each other. There was never a single Mayan empire as mentioned before, but rather a widespread interconnected civilization. The Mayan city of Palenque, as you can see on the screen, is a well-preserved site. The Maya first settled here as early as 100 BCE, and the city reached its peak between 600 and 800 CE. Maya cities tended to expand with minimal planning. Their cities were built in an organic way, adapting to the topography of each particular location. The city center would be occupied by ceremonial and administrative complexes, surrounded by an irregular sprawl of residential districts. Different parts of a city would often be linked by causeways. The principal architecture of the city consisted of palaces, pyramid temples, ceremonial ball courts, and structures aligned for astronomical observation. Since we're talking about Mayan cities, we need to mention the most famous one. Let's talk about Chichen Itza. Chichen Itza is a Mayan city known for a large pyramid temple built by the Maya civilization. Located in the Mexican state of Yucatan and built on a period before the Aztec era, there are many temples and pyramids at Chichen Itza. The main temple, known as El Castillo or the Temple of Kukulkan, is about 1 kilometer in diameter and has 365 steps, one for every day of the year. This is the largest pyramid at Chichen Itza, and it is dedicated to Kukulkan, the plumed serpent. Every year, on the fall and spring equinox, the sun hits the side of the building, making a show of light and shadow, which looks like a snake along the steps of the building. To the Maya, this was a lucky symbol. It meant the golden sun had entered the earth. meaning it was time to plant corn. Archaeologists are fascinated by this Maya city, which has become one of the new wonders of the world. It was one of the largest Maya cities built. Chichen Itza is an ancient archaeological site rich in history and diverse designs and styles, which were typical to Central Mexican, Puc, and Chenes styles. It is believed that the population of Chichen Itza was very diverse. The variation of cultures is reflected in the styling which can be seen at this city. The city of Chichen Itza was built on rough terrain, covering an area of 5 square kilometers or more. The area had to be manually leveled off before construction work could begin. El Mirador. El Mirador is a Maya city from the late Preclassic, located in the Mirador Basin in Guatemala. El Mirador is located in the Maya Biosphere Reserve and can only be accessed by helicopter. It takes 2 days to get there, walking between the jungle. The peak of El Mirador city occurs in parallel with the formation of Tikal. The site has a series of triadic structures, about 35 of them, consisting of an artificial platform that supports 3 pyramids or a pyramid and 2 smaller structures located on right angle in reference to the central pyramid, forming a kind of square between them. The most notable of these structures are the so-called El Tigre and La Danta. The El Tigre pyramid, 55 meters high, is the second largest there. Tikal. Tikal is one of the largest archaeological sites and urban centers of the pre-Columbian Mayan civilization. It is located in the archaeological region of the Petén Basin, in what is now northern Guatemala. The name Tikal may be a derivation of the words Ti-Akal from the Yucatec Maya, meaning in the water well. An alternative explanation suggests that the name comes from the Mayan Itza, and that it means place of voices or place of languages. Tikal, however, is not the ancient name for the site, but rather a name adopted shortly after its discovery. Hieroglyphic inscription at the ruins refer to the ancient city as Yashmutal or Yashmutul, meaning first Mutal. Tikal was the capital of a conquest state that became one of the most powerful kingdoms of the ancient Maya. Tikal is the best understood of any of the large lowland Maya cities. With a long dynastic ruler list, the discovery of the tombs of many of the rulers on this list, and the investigation of their monuments, temples, and palaces. Tikal covers an estimated area of 60 square kilometers, much of which has not yet been cleared, mapped, or excavated. Uxmal. Uxmal is an ancient Mayan city of the classical period. At present, it is one of the most important archaeological sites of the Mayan culture, along with those of Chichen Itza and Tikal. It is located in the state of Yucatan, Mexico. The present name seems to derive from Uxmal, meaning 3 times built. This seems to refer to the site's antiquity and the times it had to be rebuilt. The etymology is disputed. Another possibility is Uxmal, which means what is to come, the future. By tradition, this was supposed to be an invisible city, built in one night by the magic of the Dwarf King. Its buildings are noted for their size and decoration. Ancient roads called sakbes connect the buildings. The buildings take advantage of the terrain to gain height and acquire important volumes, including the Pyramid of the Magician with 35 meters height, 54 meters wide, and 5 levels, and the Governor's Palace, which covers an area of more than 1,200 square feet. Cenote or sinkhole. A cenote is a deep natural sinkhole with water at the bottom. They are sometimes connected to other cenotes or to the sea through a series of interconnected underground streams. There are several types of cenotes: an open sky, semi-open, and underground or in a cave. This classification is directly related to the age of the cenote, being the mature cenotes, those completely open, and the youngest, the ones that preserve their entire dome. Cenotes were used for ceremonies. Along human sacrifices, they also tossed copper, gold, and jade offerings into it. Mayan calendar. The Maya were expert mathematicians and astronomers. They used their studies to devise calendars. The Mayan calendar was highly complex, and it was also used by other Mesoamerican peoples. The Maya followed a 52-year calendar round. This resulted from 2 calendar cycles, the Hab and the Tolkien, which acted at the same time but were independent of each other. The 2 cycles reached the same point after a period of 52 years. For periods longer than 52 years, the Maya used a separate system called the long count. The planet of Venus was important to the Maya. They accurately tracked its movements and timed their wars to happen alongside its first appearance in the morning sky. Mayan astronomy. The classic Maya in particular developed some of the most accurate pre-telescope astronomy in the world. The classic Maya understood many astronomical phenomena. For example, the Mayans measured the Venus cycle of 584 days within a margin of error of only 2 hours. At the time of contact with Europeans, the Mayans had drawn up eclipse tables, calendars, and an astronomical knowledge that was more accurate than the comparable knowledge in Europe of this time. Mathematics. In common with the other Mesoamerican civilizations, the Maya used a base 20 system. The bar and dot counting system, that is the base of Mayan numerals, was used in Mesoamerica. The Maya adopted it by the late Preclassic and added the symbol for 0. This may have been the earliest known occurrence of the idea of an explicit 0 worldwide, although it may have been predated by the Babylonian system. The basic number system consists of a dot to represent 1 and a bar to represent 5. By the post-classic period, a shell symbol represented 0. The Maya could write any number from 0 to 19 using a combination of these symbols. The precise value of a numeral was determined by its position. As a numeral shifted upwards, its basic value multiplied by 20. In this way, The lowest symbol would represent units. The next symbol up would represent multiples of 20, and the symbol above would represent multiples of 400, and so on. Religion. The Maya believed that their rulers could communicate with the gods and their dead ancestors through the ritual of bloodletting. It was a common practice for the Maya to pierce their tongue, lips, or ears with stingray spines and pull a thorny rope through their tongue, or cut themselves with a stone knife. The Maya also offered the blood of prisoners captured in warfare. They fought wars in order to capture high-ranking prisoners who could be sacrificed to satisfy the gods. Mayan kings were the most important priests. They were seen as the link between humans and gods, and when the kings died, they themselves became gods. The Maya worshipped many gods. Mayan gods could change themselves into human and animal shapes. Priests performed ceremonies to keep the gods happy. The Maya thought the world was divided into three parts: the heavens, the earth, and the underworld, which were all linked together by a giant tree. Kukulkan, God Wind, also called plumed serpent. For some researchers, this god is the same as Quetzalcoatl of the Aztecs, and it is debated whether it comes from the Toltec culture or the Olmec culture. Related to wind, water, and Venus, it has a long nose, like that of a tapir. He walks on the water, handles burning torches, and sits on the cruciform tree of the four winds. He is a god of culture and hero, since he is seen planting corn, carrying tools, and continuing a journey, a fact that establishes his solar connection. Kukulkan always goes ahead of the god Chak, because he anticipates the rain, and with his tail waves the wind and sweeps the earth, so that the waters run clean. Chak, God Brain. Chak is represented with a nose resembling a trunk and two coiled tusks that come out of his mouth and go down. He was also represented as an old man, with an appearance similar to an amphibian or reptile, with a characteristic long and curved nose, brandishing an axe with a wooden handle, representing thunder or lightning. It has been associated with the frog or toad. Like other Maya gods, Chak is both one and manifold. 4 Chaks are based in the cardinal directions and wear the directional colors: red, white, black, and yellow. Ixchel, goddess of the moon. Wife of the solar god, she is patron of medicine, floods, pregnancy, childbirth, and weaving. Ixchel appears as an old woman emptying a pitcher on the ground, or also with a waist loom. Sometimes she was represented with a rabbit. In hieroglyphic text, her name is Chakchel, large rainbow. In Chilambalam, her name means rainbow woman. Human sacrifices. Sacrifice was a religious activity in Maya culture, involving either the killing of animals or, as mentioned before, the bloodletting by members of the community in rituals directed by priests. Human sacrifice in Maya culture was the ritual offering of nourishment to the gods. Blood was viewed as a potent source of nutrition to the Mayan deities, and the sacrifice of a living creature was a powerful blood offering. By extension, the sacrifice of a human life was the ultimate offering of blood to the gods, and the most important Maya rituals culminated in human sacrifice. Generally, only high-status prisoners of war were sacrificed, with lower-status captives being used for labor. A number of methods were employed by the Maya, the most common being decapitation and heart extraction. Additional forms of sacrifice included ritually shooting the victim with arrows, hurling sacrifices into a deep cenote or sinkhole, entombing alive to accompany a noble burial, tying the sacrifice into a ball game, and disembowelment. Ball game. The ball game, ulama, was played throughout Mesoamerica. In addition to being a sport, it had religious significance. Although there were many versions of the game, it was always played on a court shaped like a capital I, as you can see on the screen. Two teams would compete against each other to get a large rubber ball through a stone ring. The ball had to be kept off the ground using only knees, elbows, or hips, never the hands or feet. It is a misconception that the losing team was sacrificed to the gods. The most widely accepted interpretation is that the winners of the game were put to death, as it was a privilege to be sacrificed to the gods. The Maya believed that the more they played the ball game, the better their harvest would be. The rules of this ancient game are largely unknown, but the stone rings found in courts suggest players had to pass a rubber ball through the rings in order to score points. The stone rings used in the ball game had varied decorations on them, such as snakes and monkeys. When Spaniards arrived in Mexico, they found many stone rings jutting out from the walls of ball courts. Maya art. The Maya produced some of the finest art of Mesoamerica. They used a variety of material such as stone, wood, ceramics, jade, and bone to decorate their buildings and to make objects that were either sacred or served a specific function, such as storing water. Some of the most striking works of art are the Maya's portraits of themselves. These portraits help us understand their way of life, methods of warfare, costumes, and beliefs. Mayan writing. The Maya created a writing system using symbols called glyphs. Each symbol represented a word or a sound. Glyphs were used to record events on stone slabs called stelae. The Maya also created books, known as codices. These were made from soft inner bark and folded like a fan. The 4 Mayan codices that still exist today tell us little of their history, but deal mainly with subjects such as rituals, astronomy, and calendars. The Mayan writing system had approximately 700 glyphs. This is the only known fully developed writing system of the pre-Columbian Americas. Maya codices. There were many books in existence at the time of the Spanish conquest of Yucatan in the 16th century. Such codices were the primary written records of Maya civilization, together with the many inscriptions on stone monuments and stelae that survived. The books are products of professional scribes working under patronage of deities. Most of the codices were destroyed. The codices that are left are named for the cities where they eventually settled: Dresden, Madrid, and Paris. The Dresden Codex is generally considered the most important of the few that survive. What did the Maya eat? The Maya, Aztec, and Inca civilizations ate simple food. Corn was the central food in their diet, along with vegetables such as beans and squash. Potatoes and quinoa were commonly grown by the Incas. Avocados and tomatoes were mainly eaten by the Aztecs and Maya, along with a wide variety of fruit. Corn was made into a kind of porridge called atole in Mesoamerica and capia in Inca territory. Corn cakes were eaten in both regions, but only the Mesoamerican peoples ate corn pancakes, known as tortillas, with every meal. The Maya were excellent beekeepers and raised stingless bee for honey. Chocolate. Many foods enjoyed by the world today were first cultivated in ancient America. One such food was chocolate, made from cacao beans. The chocolate drink prepared by the ancient Americans was similar to the hot chocolate we drink today, only more bitter and spicy, as chocolate was flavored with chili peppers and spices. They made it sweet by adding honey and flavored it with vanilla. The drink was served only to wealthy people because cacao beans were valuable and were thought to be a luxury. Hunting and fishing. Hunting and fishing were important for the Incas, Aztecs, and Maya civilizations. Meat and fish were part of the diet. In Mesoamerica, the largest animals were the peccary, a relative of the pig, and the deer. The animals were hunted with bows and arrows. Dogs, rabbits, and other small animals such as frogs, tadpoles, and grasshoppers were also eaten. People in Mesoamerica also raised animals such as ducks and turkeys for their meat. The Incas, Aztecs, and Maya fished for everything from shellfish to large fish and sea mammals using nets, harpoons or long spears, fish hooks, and sometimes bows and arrows. Trade. Trade was a key component of Mayan society and essential to the development of Maya civilization. Cities that grew to become the most important generally controlled access to vital commercial goods or to portage routes. The commercial routes not only allowed the exchange of products, but also facilitated the exchange of people and ideas throughout Mesoamerica. Changes in the commercial routes took place in function of the boom and fall of important cities of the Mayan region. Chief staples of Maya economic activities were centered around foods like fish, squash, yams, corn, honey, beans, turkey, vegetables, chocolate drinks. Raw materials such as limestone, marble, jade, wood, copper, and gold. And manufactured goods such as paper, books, jewelry, clothing, carvings, toys, weapons, and luxury goods. The Maya also had an important service sector through which mathematicians, farming consultants, astronomers, scribes, and artists would sell their services. Arguably, the most important of these commodities was salt, an important part of the Maya diet, but it was also critical in the preservation of food. Modern Mayan people. The Mayan people continue to live scattered in Mexico, Guatemala, and Honduras. They are a population that surpasses 2 million individuals. According to the National Institute of Statistics, Geography, and Informatics in 2010, in Mexico alone, there were 786,113 Mayan speakers. In spite of the attacks of the centuries of Spanish domination and of the exploitation and abuse on the part of the Mexican landowners during the Porfirian era, the Maya people still largely preserve their ancestral customs, dress, and traditions. In Mexico, in the states of Yucatan, Quintana Roo, and parts of Campeche, Mayan women use the ipil as a daily clothing, reserving the use of a more elaborate version of it terno for special occasions. Men, on the other hand, wear their typical clothes for special occasions or parties only. Housing is one of the most ingrained elements among the current Mayan communities. Its structures are oval base made of wood, stone, and palm of guano. The typical Mayan houses lack windows and have a front and a back door. In addition, they are thermal, cool in warm weather and warm in the winter. In terms of music, the ancient sounds are still heard, interpreted with musical instruments of pre-Hispanic tradition. The carapace of an armadillo, deer horns, multiple types of whistles and rattles, drums of water, or bass tuquenlues and zacatanes, violins, chirimías, and in the case of Guatemala, the marimba, all serve to liven up the meetings of various Mayan groups. In artisanal production, they continue using materials and techniques inherited by the ancient Mayans. The ceramic, for example, is still made through hand-building techniques and cooked with ovens made of clay and stone. The present Maya practice a syncretic religion in which they mix ancestral rituals such as the Chachak ceremony or the ritual of the Hetzmek with the Catholic Christian beliefs imposed on them by the Spaniards in the conquest.